This is Refractions, a brand new audio effect that lets you sequence live audio and create beautiful, shimmery soundscapes. This video is a journal of my entire process, from the very first idea to what it is today. Our journey starts on March 25th, 2023. Here's what I had to say back then. So I had an idea for a plugin, and it comes from Decent Sampler, the instrument plugin that I made. So I'm playing it now with this keyboard. Each preset contains a bunch of pre-recorded samples, and as I press the keys, information about what notes I'm playing gets sent through this cable, and the plugin receives this and figures out which pre-recorded samples to play based on which keys I pressed. So here's my idea. What if there was an instrument that was like this, but instead of using pre-recorded samples, it was just always listening, sampling the incoming audio over and over again, and then it could just play that just like a synthesizer. I'm not going to go into the details of coding, but it's a pretty simple idea, and it takes me about 2.5 hours to whip up a prototype. Okay, so I'm compiling it, and I'm going to bring it into my audio software of choice, which is Ableton Live. I haven't made a user interface for it yet, so for now it just says Hello World in this box. Okay, so I've got my microphone set up here, I've got my keyboard down here, and I'm just going to try to sing into this microphone and also play notes at the same time. I don't know if that's going to work. Hey, that was a weird experience, actually. It's very hard to control. It's the age-old vocoder problem. When I'm concentrating on singing, I forget to play notes, and when I'm thinking about what notes I should play, it's hard to remember to make sound with my mouth. Here's what happens when I try to just hold the same pitch. So it does work, but right now I think this is of limited use. Let's try to improve on it. What if we added a sequencer? Instead of me having to remember to play notes on the keyboard, what if this thing was just always playing notes, and all I had to do was remember to feed it cool sounds? Okay, so it's been a few days, and I've added a little sequencer. Right now it's just got a preset loop that plays octaves. Okay. Let's give this a test. That's really weird. Okay, that's actually pretty cool. Okay, I'm going to turn this down. At this point, what I think this could really use is a delay module after that sequencer. So that's what I'm going to try to add next. Okay, so a few weeks have passed. I've added a delay, I've made a UI, I've also added a bunch of new patterns, as well as controls that allow me to set the speed of the sequencer. As you can see, I've decided to call the plugin Refractions. To try out the delays, I decided to get out my acoustic guitar. So what we've been hearing is the dry signal, and now I'm going to turn up the plugin. I'm working on this video about this violin I found at a pawn shop, and while I was scoring that video, I actually used the plugin to write some of the music for that video. It feels like kind of a milestone because it's the first time I've actually used this plugin in my own music. Okay, so this is cool and all, but the first thing anyone is going to ask for is the ability to edit the patterns. Like, I myself am feeling that. Okay, it's been 3 months since the last time I checked in, and a lot has happened. I've been working on this piano roll display, which lets you edit the sequences. Check it out. So right now, I'm using Decent Sampler to generate a very simple synthesizer sound, and I'm just playing whole notes. As I turn up the mix knob, we can hear Refractions kick into gear. Now I can switch over to the editor tab, and I'm able to use this view to change the presets. Now that I'm able to actually edit the patterns, I'm realizing this is a much cooler plugin than I first thought. Every 2 seconds, I'm coming up with a new pattern that I like, and it's a source of constant surprise. One thing I noticed is that the patterns that are most universally useful seem to feature octaves, so I've made a filter that allows you to just see the notes that are octaves. There's also an option to see just octaves and fifths, which is also pretty useful. Of course, up until this point, I've just been playing single notes. We can just as easily play chords, and then it will actually just sequence the entire chord. Another thing I added was this grid view. You can use it to see the underlying note data, and you can use fractional note values. Like in this preset, I've got the pitch very slowly drifting around the original pitch. The effect of all those drifts almost makes it sound like it has reverb on it, but that's all just refractions. There's also this note shape knob. Among other things, it allows you to change the release time for each note, which can drastically change the character of the effect. Another fun thing to play with is this grain size control. Remember, the way that Refractions works is it's constantly pulling in sound. Grain size controls how much sound gets pulled in. As you turn the knob down, the sound gets more and more robotic. If you turn it all the way down, you lose the pitch of your source material altogether. All in all, I'm really excited to release this. So I just sent this plugin to my friend Cameron, also known as Venus Theory. Here he is taking it out for a spin. So he really liked the plugin, he was very supportive, but he had 2 feature requests: reverb and a low-pass filter. So I've now added those into the plugin, and boy, was he right. Now that we have reverb, we can start to use Refractions as a shimmery delay effect. I'm going to set my pattern to something simple, like this. I'm going to turn the mix down to about 30%, and then I'm going to turn up the reverb. And now we've got this effect that's chopping up and delaying the original sound, but occasionally those notes are an octave above, which adds additional harmonic content. It's funny, I've had months to play with this effect, and I'm still constantly surprised by what comes out of the speakers when I use it. I feel like I've barely scratched the surface of what this thing is capable of. I can't wait for more people to have this in their hands so that I can see how they use it. Already the stuff I've seen other people doing is so different from what I've used it for, which is really rewarding to see. Okay, I think that's it. If this seems like a cool effect to you, you can get it for the intro price of $29. In 2 weeks, it'll be going back up to the list price, which is $99. Okay, have fun and see you soon.